Number 2 has been withdrawn. We go to question. I call next on the list Mr. Leslie Creed. Mr. Creed. Minister.
The First Minister and I had very informative meetings with representatives of the energy sector and the utilities regulator. This was as part of the series of cost of living meetings held with stakeholder groups, including the banks, construction industry, social and voluntary sector, business groups and trade unions, during the autumn and early winter last year to gather information on the impact of the economic downturn on local social and economic interests. The meeting with the energy sector also helped gain a better understanding of the local energy market and the regulation process, and to inform us on what actions we, as First and Deputy First Minister, could take to help local householders and businesses deal with increasing energy costs. The meetings also gave a clear signal of the importance we attach to ensuring that local energy prices are fairly and transparently set in accordance with the current legislative and regulatory framework. Energy costs are a significant element of local households' budgets and are a particular challenge for the most disadvantaged households. And in recognition of this, the Executive announced in December our intention to provide £150 to support the most vulnerable households. We have also moved to put in place the financial assistance legislation to enable us to act quickly. The Department of Enterprise, Trade and Investment has primary responsibility for energy policy. Our meetings reinforced and supported the review of last year's price rises called for by the Deputy Minister. We very much welcome the correction in prices that was announced by the regulator on the 15th of December, and we plan further meetings with some of the energy companies to explore further how they can contribute to easing the burden of energy costs on local consumers and businesses.
Mr. Creed for supplementary.
Thank you. Thank the Deputy First Minister for his comprehensive reply. I would ask what plans the office have to reduce the Northern Ireland's dependence on one energy source for electricity generation, bearing in mind the emerging gas cartel.
Minister.
Well, I think that all of us are challenged by the difficulties that have arisen in the course of recent times. And these are challenges and difficulties not just affecting us in this part of the world, but I think affecting most governments in the course of the whole of Western Europe. And there are real challenges for us, and many of our departments, such as the Deputy Department, are facing up to how we can ensure that we put in place processes which will see us lessen our dependency on some of these deliverance mechanisms. I think clearly it is obvious that the events of recent times, with the economic downturn, with the fluctuating prices in gas and petrol and diesel and so forth, does represent a real challenge for us as we move forward. And I think everybody in government and all of the departments in government and the Executive as a whole, and I believe also this Assembly, is continually focusing its attention on how we can ensure that we put in place sustainable mechanisms to ensure that we are less dependent on methods of fuel which can be affected by all sorts of situations, from different wars in different parts of the world to whatever whim a particular government has in relation to the increase in prices. And we saw the recent difficulty between Russia and the Ukraine, for example, and how that can affect not just what is happening in their relations, but affect all of us in Western Europe.
Call Mr. Simon Hamilton.
Speaker, an essential element of our energy future is the security of our supply. And I know that the British Irish Council has added a work stream on energy. Could the Deputy First Minister perhaps tell the House what efforts have been made through the British Irish Council to achieve a goal of better grid connectivity, which has been outlined in our investment strategy?
Minister.
Well, I certainly think that at the British Irish Council meetings, very serious discussions took place on the economic downturn, but also the fact that we are absolutely dependent on fuel. Now, I think that from our perspective, what we have been doing in terms of the Executive dealing with the problems that have been associated by recent rises in energy prices is that we have given £15 million to help the most vulnerable affected by fuel poverty, and that's more than 100,000 households on pension credit and income support, they will receive £150. 21 million is already committed to the Warm Home Scheme. DETI will work with the Regulator's Office to explore whether there is scope for regulatory action for those in fuel poverty, taking account of the interests of all energy customers, including businesses. And of course, the Housing Executive is investigating the potential for acting as a broker to procure discounted energy for its tenants. So I think that from our perspective, we are moving forward with the DETI last published, as many of you will here know, an energy strategy document in 2004 called the Strategy Energy Framework. And following a review of the Strategy Energy Framework 2004 last year, in light of the changing world focus towards tackling the threat of climate change as well as addressing concerns around security of supply and economic development, DETI secured the Enterprise Trade and Investment Committee's agreement to the development of a new energy framework. As a first step in this process, DETI undertook a scoping consultation aimed at engaging the key energy stakeholders and garnering their views on our energy future over the next 10 years. The consultation officially closed on the 8th of January 2009, and feedback from the scoping paper, a number of energy-related workshops, engagement with other key executive departments and the recent independent review of the energy price-setting process will inform, develop and shape a revised Strategic Energy Framework 2009. The draft framework will be brought before the Committee and the Executive for approval before issuing for full public consultation, probably in the spring. So, at the British Irish Council meeting, the issue of the challenges that we face in terms of the economic downturn and also the issue of energy is something that exercises all of the governments represented. And I think that given the way in which the economic fortunes of all those governments have changed over the course of the last number of months, and indeed over the course of the last 12 months, it is incumbent upon all of us to work through a spirit of cooperation to ensure that we can meet the challenges that energy delivery and security face for all of us.
Claire McGill.
And apologies for my late arrival to question time, and apologies to the Deputy First Minister. Could I ask the Deputy First Minister, in terms of the rise in fuel prices, what can the Executive do to monitor or to review the current regulatory framework, energy framework? Are there any proposals to review that, to deal with the regulatory system?
Well, the relevant legislation is the Energy Order 2003 and Electricity Order 1992, and these govern the behaviour of the energy companies which operate under licences provided by this legislation. The licence will specify, among other things, the allowed profit levels of the price-regulated companies and the extent of costs that can be passed back to consumers in terms of prices. The energy regulator's role is to check that companies are operating and setting prices in accordance with the terms of their licence. The Department of Enterprise, Trade and Investment is currently undertaking consultation on a new long-term strategic energy framework which will consider how to reduce energy costs, build competitive, sustainable energy markets and increase our use of renewable energy. This new framework will also consider changes to the regulatory energy framework as recommended by the recent energy price review.